endo-perio, if the question is endo-perio interrelationship or any other relationship on endo-perio, I would write on etiology, pathway first, etiology next, the difference between them, the etiopathogenesis, the classification, clinical features, treatment plan, and then conclude it. So when you ask me about pulpo-periodontal pathways, there are so many classifications given by many people, If you say you can talk about Franklin Wayne's classification, Glickman's classification, Stock and Gulabiwala's classification, or any other classification like Grossman's classification, whatever you want. But for a simple understanding, I want to say it this way, as a student you understand this much. You have a tooth and you have a periodontium. Periodontium consists of two hard and two soft structures. You have a bone, alveolar bone, you have a cementum, you have a PDL, and then what happens, they're connected to each other, right? When they're connected to each other, and gingiva of course, when they're connected to each other, what happens is, there is a communication in many ways, with blood supply and nerve supply. For blood and nerve to go, there may be portals of exit, which might be in the form of a main canal, additional canal, accessory canal, lateral canal, developmental defects, incomplete reunion, whatever they may be. So understand this much. So if you have to simply know how all can it connect, a tooth may be simply involved because of a decay or a caries or a fracture, occlusion, load, whatever it is, you may call it as primary endo lesion. A tooth is involved and only endo is involved. It might be a pulpitis to apical periodontitis, but it's primarily endo. Now the patient can go through it, the pain and the swelling or whatever it is, and still not come to you. It will spread in the bone. Then it becomes what? Primary endo, which is started from endo, it went to perio now because it involved all the other structures around it, the supporting structures like the foundation. The first classification was primary endo, now it became primary endo but secondary perio, second classification. Sometimes there are no problems, patients are not well to do or they are not well to do, they don't maintain well and they have pockets and whatnot. And in that pocket, it might be just a perio problem. Just treat that much. That's the third classification according to a clinical classification, primary perio. But if the patient has not taken care of it well, not come to the doctor on time, the perio pocket has gone so deep from the furcation till the root and become a communication. It becomes primary perio and secondary endo. That's the fourth classification. Sometimes you may have a patient where there is endo involvement and perio involvement and combined involvement, both involvement. What came first, even we don't know because patient comes so late. So that's different thing. So that's all about it. So primary endo, primary perio, primary endo, secondary perio, primary perio, secondary endo, and last is two combined. So that's the classification you need to know. So pathways of communication starts from them, from pulpal to periodontal. And you also have the differences here. You need to understand, to know the differences, you need to understand these points. I'm sure you can read your books, the notes that you have with you. What's the etiology? Why the pain is come? Is the pain sharp? Then it's endo. If it is dull, it's perio. If there is a swelling, is it apical or is it near the starting point of the gingiva? Percussion, when you percuss on top, it is morely endo. When you percuss on the side, it's morely perio. But don't percuss with a probe or an instrument, please. Finger is enough. The patient is already symptomatic. When you press, they will say yes, okay. Probing, pocket depth, all that can be probed. Sinus tracing. When you put a GP point in the buccal sinus or lingual sinus or the palatal sinus, you just cone pump it slightly and take it to the full length. The GP point will go and curl around the cause. Otherwise the sinus doesn't come. That sinus tracing will tell you is it endo or perio. Because it might be too apically or too coronally. You decide that. Mobility. It might be a class 1 or a type 1 to type 2 to type 3. It might be endomobility, which goes away actually in pulpitis cases, in abscess cases, not mainly pulpity abscess, alveolar abscess, acute. It comes up, or it might be another cause altogether. But if it is a perio cause which has a mobility, the prognosis is guarded. Then you have the etiopathogenesis. Again, anatomic considerations, etiological considerations, contributing factors. Like I said, classifications, Simons, Olives and Pollocks. You take what you want, it's okay. One of the last topics I'll discuss now in 2 minutes is traumatic injuries. One of my favorite topic, interesting topic, and the most needed, because this is very sad when it happens. Because unfortunately, most of the patients cannot reach the dental office on time, and we end up losing the tooth in a matter of time, sooner or later. So if somebody can go deep into that, I know PEDO, I know there are traumatic involved agencies and organizations, but this is a very sad thing. Anyway, when you get a question like this, what's the cause, what's the incidence, what's the classification, the terminology, the management of traumatic injuries, involving pulp, not involving pulp. If it is not involving pulp, it becomes conservative, like before class 3 or type 3. If it is involving, it becomes to endodontics. The entire classification of LEs will go that side. So you follow one classification. You can follow any, whatever you deem fit. Last is conclusion. Okay, that's how you do it. So these are the few topics that I thought I'll discuss. So terminologies, what do you want to write? You will write about all these terminologies. What are Kray's lines, cuspal fractures, cracked tooth, split tooth, vertical fractures, or when we talk of classifications, they can be anything like this, Ellis-Davy or Anderson's. Anderson is a big name, of course. You can see whatever it is. Conservative management. Is it just, I said conservative management, so it's before third classification. So it's only in the enamel, or enamel and dentine only, not involving pulp. So you can restore them many times. May put semi-permanent restorations with the liner, with the pulp capping, and then go for permanent. Both are okay. So that's how you go it. Look at the features. Always when you want to decide and define your diagnosis, you need to have a clinical picture, a radiographic picture with the patient history, bring them together, then come to the conclusion for a treatment plan. But the most important thing in any treatment you have to write in the paper is follow up. If you write follow up for every procedure, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. That's more important. We don't follow up sometimes. Okay? That's important.